Everyone. I'm Ashmita Reddy, your moderator for today's session, IoT in medicine. And IoT, as we know, is gaining a lot of popularity these days, and it's an awesome tool for medical innovation. And to speak on that, we have Kush Prajapati, founder and CEO of Redicine MedSol, is an engineer, entrepreneur, and impact investor. He is very passionate about innovation and entrepreneurship and is currently associated with Unleash Plus, a global innovation lab, as an Unleash entrepreneur. So, welcome Kush Prajapati for the session, and we are so pleased to have you with us here. And so, without wasting much time, we should begin the session. So, Kush, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Ashmita, for the warm introduction, and it's been a pleasure to being a part and to being able to give a presentation on IT in healthcare. So, as you mentioned, that we at Radisson Medsol is currently developing IoT-based smart field reminding and storage devices. So today, I will talk much more about how the IoT is currently working on the in healthcare sector and how we come up with a solution and how we integrate the IoT in our solution. Let me just share the presentation a moment. Okay, sure. So, can you show the presentation? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. So basically, just we start. We can start with the definition of the IoT. So IoT is basic combination of hardware and software technologies that produce a trillions of the data through the connecting of multiple devices and sensor with the cloud or internet connectivity and the making sense of the data with intelligent tools such as artificial intelligence or machine learning. So anything, any device can be IoT with just a few technologies. So main thing about the IoT is the combination of hardware and software along with the data, generation of the data. So IoT cannot work without the generating the data because ultimately we require certain set of the data to perform a certain set of tasks. And there is another definition of IoT is that it is a system of interconnected computing devices, mechanical or digital object, sensors, or animals or people. So I would just like to tell that the things in IoT is actually refer to the people, animal, or any human to human or human to computer interaction devices or sensors. So basically, it can be a person with a heart monitor implant. It can be a farm animal with biochip transponder to keep track of the location of the animal. Then it can be mobile automobile to state an example, the Tesla with all the high-tech sensors that you can do a self-driving. You can keep track of your car. You can keep track of all the performance of your vehicle, engine, and XYZ through online application platform or through web platform. So yeah. So and to give you a simplistic description of the Internet of Things, so basically they collect the data. There is a bridge between the data collection and the processor that facilitate the data transmission. And the main thing about the IoT is the processor. So they analyze the data. They based on algorithm, they generate different set of signals, and that's how the receiver performs certain tasks. And the application to state about the application of general application, not only healthcare. So its consumer application is about smart home and elder care. So smart home, to give you an example is home automation. So now we can all aware that you can simply plug a simple Amazon smart plug into simple electric socket, and suddenly the whole electric appliances becomes automated. You can access your AC, phone, each and every light through application by anywhere in the world with simple use of application. There is an organization application such as medical and healthcare, in a transportation, the building and home automation. Then there are industrial application for manufacturing. Due to IoT, the size of the devices is reduced very drastically, and also they started to perform very effectively compared to other earlier times. And then there is infrastructure application that is focused much more about real estate or energy management and environment monitoring. And okay, so what enables IoT? So basically, it's categorized in four main forms. So there is a short-range wireless devices like Bluetooth mesh networking, near field communication. Then there is a radio frequency identification, Wi-Fi, and Zigbee. Then there is a medium range wireless devices such as our phone network LTE or 5G. And then there is a long range wireless devices that used to communicate with the space shuttles and to different objects that's been available at the very distance location. And then there is a wired network. Wired network is not much effective, and they started to people reducing the use of the wireless network, with the passage of time. So now to focus much more about IoT in healthcare. So in the past few years, the new terms emerged, named the Internet of Medical Things. So the IoT, and it is IoMT is specifically one part of IoT. And to just to give an example that how IoMT is helping the people, and not only helping people but helping the medical care professionals that are connected with the healthcare, to connect them with the IT. All the medical devices are now equipped with Wi-Fi or near field communication technologies that allows machine or machine in communication that is based on IoMT. So now you can transmit the medical device data, medical chart from one hospital to another hospitals very easily, very effectively. Also, the hospitals and clinics are now interconnected with the many devices. For example, doctor can simply keep track of the ECG record by in his office. They don't have to go to the specifically to patient's bed to keep track of the ECG readings. And the IoT empowered the remote monitoring. So that's actually helped to increase the engagement between the patients and doctors, whether they are available or not. That means to give an example, telemedicine, and also that helps to reduce healthcare costs significantly and improve the treatment outcomes. So subsequently, I will give you the example of that how the certain medical treatments, the cost of certain medical treatments reduce very drastically over the period of time. And yeah, so these are the basic advantage of IoT in a medical healthcare. So one I stated is cost reduction, the improved treatment, fast disease diagnostic. To give an example, that now early stage breast cancer identification is far more easy. You don't have to wait for many days for the result. You can easily keep track. You can easily detect the early stage breast symptoms. Then there is a proactive treatments like ECG that's now available in very smaller size. That as we are aware that Apple recently launched a watch few years back that can do your ECG at any moment at any time, and they can also transfer the data from your watch to doctors and respective hospitals. So they can also check that okay your ECG ratings. Also that that helps to reduce the error. So basically, as I stated earlier, the IoT, the main aim is to have a proper algorithm or processor. So basically what they do, so they try to learn from themselves about, and they try to reduce error. Subsequently, the much more you use, the more their error reduction happens. And to as a business perspective, if you think about IoMT, so it's been estimated by 2025, it's a global IoT market will be 2.5 trillion, which is pretty huge compared to any other technologies that been available right now. And other data that be available in US market, because in India still we are very lagging in terms of adaptability of the technology. So in US, almost 87% of healthcare organizations have implanted IoT services, and we are estimated to go to have almost around 60 to 50% of healthcare organizations will try to incorporate IoT based medical devices by 2021. And yeah, okay, so based on the application and based on the workflow, IMT solution are broadly categorized in 7 ways. So first one is clinical efficiency, second one is consumer home monitoring, fitness variables, infant monitoring, biometric sensor, brain sensor, and the sleep stress monitor. To give an example of clinical efficiency, so nowadays it is very easy to send data from one hospital to another hospital through IoT, because majority of medical devices are now internet adapted with the internet connectivity. So doctors can check the data at a distance location. One of the example of IoT to IoT is that they help the doctors to keep track of the patient's visit and also to keep track of the patient's EMR records. So based on that, a doctor can keep track of the treatment progress throughout from start to end. And then IoT enabled to keep track of patients' parameters such as their heart rate monitoring, the ECG reports, the temperature report, the blood pressure report. Everything can be done at hospitals and can be done at home, and doctors can have it data. And one of the main uh, one of the major impact that IoT causes in the brain sensor and neurotechnologies. So due to the advancement in IoT, so now it's very researchers are actually trying to progress to develop a high-tech consumer-targeted corneal wearable. To give you the latest example, the Elon Musk is currently trying to create a biometric chip that can implant in your ears, so you can listen to your music that you like the most without any variables like earphone, headphone. So these are the so basically what they keep track of your brain waves, and based on what you like, what you dislike, they can keep shuffling the songs until the songs from which you like the most. And the IoT device capable of reading the brain waves, they can keep track and they can transmit a mood evaluating neurosignals. So basically nowadays, due to IoT, it's very easy to study and to diagnose mental diseases. And still, these are the majority advancement going in the Western countries. India is kind of bit lagging these technologies. And there is sleep stress monitoring. So we are now equipped with on in every smartwatch. You can now keep track of your sleep patterns. So basically, that helps that helps a lot to diagnose a sleep uh, sleep how to say it, sleep disorientation. So this helps a lot in that segmentation. So IoT cannot work alone. So IoT along with artificial intelligence and machine learning can create wonders. To give you a few examples, I will start with Orcam. So this is by far the most smartest iCam that has been developed. So you can say that it is an advanced version of Google Cam that's been developed specifically for blind and partial blind people. So how does it work? So you can simply connect the Orcam to your uh, glasses, and they will help you to identify who's in front of you. So they are facial recognition devices, so they will help you to understand who's in front of you. They can read the text that in the book. And to just give you an example, let me just show you the video.
¿Qué tal rendís en el campo?
Bueno, hay día.
The Orcam My Eye transforms the lives of the blind and visually impaired, enabling them to live more independently and discover magic moments every day.
Read the headline.
Another brilliant performance. The Argentinian star led his team to victory yesterday.
What's in front of me?
A cup is in front of you. $50. Una botella de agua mineral.
So from this, you can see that now as IoT and advancement are now partially blind, and the blind people can easily access they can easily understand what real world actually looks like. And this not only help them to live a to commute, to communicate, they also help them to improve their life standards. And recently I just read the study about the Orcam. So Orcam helped not they helped many partially blind and blind people to get a job, because basically now they can read, they can write, they can communicate easily. They knows that who's in front of you, in front of them. So that's how IoT along with AI and machine learning enable the future of healthcare. This is one of the another example for Docspur. This is a smart prescription model designed for specifically for the doctors to get the data online. So this is a normal smart pen that is equipped with the battery, memory card, camera, and the processor. So and below you can see in the left hand side corner, it is a customizable prescription pad So when whatever the doctors write in the prescription pad, they directly will get the data online. They can share the data with the patients and other hospitals or laboratory. They don't have to keep track of the data in a notebook and then send someone to give the data to particular laboratory or hospital. They can easily keep track of everything with just simply writing down prescription with the pen. So this will also, I think, a breakthrough technology for the doctors in terms of prescription. And due to this, this will indirectly reduces the time that's consumed by all the process. So, for example, if doctor is prescribing the patient after a certain treatment, the device will instantly transmit the data to respective laboratories. So laboratories can connect the patients and for the reports and for the treatment procedures. And there is another technology, iBreast exams, which is by far the smartest early breast cancer detection devices. So you can just see the smart size of the devices is actually the normal size devices, and they help doctors to examine the early stage cancer detection. And the very great thing is that the cost of this device is only around 7 to 7.5 lakhs, and to but price of the one tasting is below 70 rupees. So you can understand that how the IoTs enable doctors and hospitals to not only to provide effective and efficient early stage detection and treatment procedure, but they also help to reduce the overall treatment cost. And you can just see the graph that for the early stage detection, this is by far most effective and hassle-free technologies that has been developed, and they are probably they are started to train a certain group of people so that they can go to the rural area and they can start scanning for the early stage breast cancer detection. Because according to the data, there are 90% of the chances that in rural area that the female has breast cancer, but they don't know because of having no facilities of the detection devices. So that's how these kind of devices can revolutionize not only can doctors' perspective, but for the patient perspective too. And just to yeah, and there is a bioscan. So bioscan is basically help to detect the hemorrhage. So what happened is that according to the data, there are more than 50 millions of the people suffered in last year because of traumatic brain injury, and the 50 or 90% of the patients patient with mild traumatic brain injury go unidentified or undiagnosed. Actually, it's not purposefully, but it is just said that early stage or the beginning symptoms are not very much traceable. So that's why it is a traumatic brain injury also associated with a very high mortality rate and the disability rate. And WHO also indicated that the TBI will be leading cause of the disability by 2021. So you can understand that ambulance equipped with these smaller kind of devices, at the time of accident, they can instantly scan the patient's head, brain to see that okay whether there is a brain has been damaged severely or not, and if it's been damaged, they can start treatment procedure and on go. So basically, what they have done, they have provided the smart optoelectric configuration to carry out the spectroscopy very effectively by using a two rod. One is for detection, one is for emission. And IoT enable those devices to smartly analyze the data and to give on the spot real time data. So doctors and hospitals can also get this data instantly. So you can imagine that at the time of the accident, when the patient is wearing a severe condition, he might not able to understand what's going on and everything. And also when the ambulance arrives, they don't know that the patients need a instant instant treatment in terms of the brain injury. So that's how these kind of devices can be very useful. And you can just see in the right hand side on the screen, they will get instant data of the okay, how much portion of the brain has been injured. And then there is to give you an example of the smartest thing that IoT enable is the Apple Watch. So I don't know how many of you are aware with the IoT aware with the Apple Series Watch Series 6, but now it's equipped with the Pulse oximeter. And last year, Apple Watch was equipped with the ECG, and also it helped to have a better sleep pattern. So why I'm giving this example, it is mainly because that due to IoT, it can be possible. And one of the main thing that some people might think that okay, this is very advanced technology that might not be accessible to everyone, each and everyone. So I will just follow, will give example that how you can create all this technology, specifically the Apple Watch by yourself at home without much more costing. Yeah, but size will be a little bit bigger because Apple work a lot in the processing chip. And yeah, to give an example how you can make a IoT based medical healthcare devices at home. So this is IoT based heart rate monitor. So you can just see the size of the sensor, which is very small compared. So you can put the sensor or attach sensor to your belt, and you can have instant heart rate monitoring. So basically, you can buy all this circuit around 1500 rupees. And one of the great things that happened in the last few years is that all the engineers, doctors, they came together to create a collaborated innovation environment. So even though if you are not from engineering background, even though you are not from healthcare background, you can simply search on Google the IoT DIY heart rate IoT based system. You will have tons of videos based on that. You can purchase sensors online. If you are not good at coding, you can go to GitHub. You will find tons of coding related to a particular sensor. You can just simply all you have need is just a computer or basic understanding of process. So you should know that what how you want to go further, and based on that you can create your heart rate monitor. Then there is another thing that DIY ECG. So when told you about the Apple Watch, so Apple when came up with ECG, so it was very quite new because we all aware that ECG machine size is quite big, and now Apple integrated with very small watch and with very high efficiency. And according to the data, the Apple Watch is the efficiency of Apple Watch is 80%, 87% more than currently available ECG devices that we have in hospital or clinical setup. And again, you can see that you can do is you can just order the heart monitor 8232. You can attach them with the configuration that been given on the board. You can configure the devices. You can have electrodes. You can attach the electrode to your chest to do ECG, and you can get instant ECG report at home. So one of the main reasons that I am talking much about the DIY is just to enable every students and the entrepreneur and the doctors to start innovating and start experimenting with a different set of skills and different set of DIY technologies. So IoT enable. So previously it wasn't possible to create ECG or heart monitor at home, but due to the advancement in Arduino technology, the advancement of Raspberry Pi, the advancement of different of sensors, now you can easily create your own heart rate monitoring ECG device at home, which is actually quite effective and quite efficient in terms of working. So they are very errorless kind of devices. And you can, as I just said, you can compare the ECG device at home and DIY ECG devices. The dimension is around 15 centimeter only. So you can just have all the size of device in a single, in very small compartment due to the with use of different set of sensors and the coding. And in the recent scenario of the COVID, you might have seen the contactless thermometer. So also IoT enable different type of contactless thermometer that you can create at home. So you can just order a bunch of sensors that's been available online. You can just shoulder them out very easily, and you can create your own contactless thermometer. Yeah. So these are the main advantages that IoT in the IoT on healthcare that has been done. Specifically, it's improved the treatment outcomes because of the round the clock patient monitoring. Then it is reduce medical costs, as I just stated that previous breast cancer detection devices were costing more than 30 to 40 lakhs and just one go. So, and the current eye breast examination cost is around 7.5 lakhs, and it is completely rechargeable device. So they can carry out breast cancer detection for 100 breast cancer detection in one charging, and the cost associated with one testing is less than 70 rupees. So you can imagine that how it drastically reduced the cost of cost related to cancer treatment. And also that improve the drug management. So our solution is majority based on the drug management to create to provide and smart IoT based medicine storage and reminding devices. So that is we are more concentrated on the improving the drug management at Tradition Medso. And just to give you a brief about our startup, so we at Radisson Medso currently developing and creating innovative and trustworthy medicine storage and reminding devices which sense of personal touch to reduce medication fatal consequences which occurs on account of medication error for the chronic patients who needs to take medicine on regular basis. So we are much more focused on the chronic patients, specifically cardiac and cancer patients, because according to the data, more than 40% of the 40 to 60% of the cardiac patient don't take medicine on the right time, which indirectly increases the treatment process time, and in the fatal consequences, this can lead to severe heart attack or death. And to just give you the how severe the problem is, so this is the data that been given by WHO. So on adherence rate on India is almost on an average around 40%, and it is very surprising to see that 41% of heart attack patients don't take their blood pressure medication or is prescribed, which indirectly increases the chances of having another heart attack or having a severe heart attack. So that's why, and also there is one more thing that the Central for the Disease Control and Prevention estimated that non-adherence cause 30 to 50% chronic disease treatment failure in India and USA. So you can imagine that if in USA the 30 to 50% the chronic disease treatment failures occurs due to the simple medication error, the rate is definitely is very high in terms of Indian ecosystem. And there is also data about the cancer patient is that for adherence rate for the cancer patient is just around 50 to 57%. And just to give you an example that how the medication error, specifically the non-adherence is causing the issue, right? So this one. So this is one survey that has been taken by 6,000 patients, and then when they asked that, okay, what is the main reason that you are not adhering to your medication? So the majority people said that it is because of the lazy approach. They forget to like, they were forget, they were busy, or they just sleep due to sleep. And why the chronic patients, specifically in the cardiac and cancer patients, the non-adherence rate is bit high because they have to take multiple different medicine on a regular basis. And there is also research going on shows that as the number of medicine schedule increases per day, the medication adherence reduces up to 50%. That means it is very severe for the cardiac and the cancer patients, and the majority of them are on multiple medication. And just to medication error is basically a preventable event that can cause or lead to inappropriate medication use or harm patient on the medication. And also it is considered as the third WHO Global Patient Safety Challenge. So even the WHO is working from last several years to reduce the medication error, people are still not aware about how important it is to take medicine at the right time and how important it is to stay adhered to a medication, because what happens is that when patients are not adhered to their medication, this indirectly increases the treatment process time, and also that can further create a stress and financial stress for the patient's perspective too. And on just give you about how severe the issue is. So there were estimated 50 lakhs that occur due to medication error just in US alone on the span of 5 years, and 10% of deaths occurs due to medication error in hospitals. So sometimes we think that okay, patient forgets to take medicine because they are at home setting or home ecosystem. So because of lazy approach, they forget to take medicine. But according to data, the medication error is happening in the 10% of the hospitals, and the data for the Indian ecosystem is quite high. So according to the Indian report, there are a medication error at hospitals are happening 20 to 30% of the time. That means there are highly chances that on per day, 20 or 30% of the times that nurses forgets to give medicine to patient at the right time, or they just simply forget to give the medicine. So that's why it's very important to have a solution to keep track of the medication adherence and to keep track that okay, whether patient has consumed medicine or not, or whether the in a hospital setting whether nurse has given a medicine to patients or not. And also about the WHO's third global patient safety challenge. So they have just they have provided a chart of the key action area. So we are trying to solve the 70% of the key action area through our first product. So what is the device, our device? So to cater a medication error, so our product will take care of medicine storage and prompt user to take for the timely medication intake. Product will remind user which medicine needs to be taken at which time by giving a audio and visual notification on the device and also on application or web portal. And just to show you the drawbacks of the current method of the medicine storage and reminding. So first one is very time consuming, wrong medication intake timing. Second one is wrong. Third one is wrong prescription. Then there is unorganized medicine and the laziness on delaying approach. So we are not trying to solve the wrong prescription and time consuming method. We have much focus about the lasening approach and unorganized medicine approach. And so this is how our solution works. So it's basically device and application. So user will connect the application through device through Wi-Fi that been generated by the device. They can set their medication scheduling through application through on the devices, and at the right time there will be a proper LED blinking of the particular compartment, and also there will be buzz to indicate okay which medicine is to take and at what time. And if the user don't take medicine at the right time, so we have added a sensor to keep track of that too. So at the end of kind of next time when the patient, any caretaker or relative wants to keep track of the patient's adherence report, they can simply connect the device to application and they can have a medication adherence report. So that's how relatives and the doctors can keep track that okay whether patient has taken medicine or not. And just to detail how exactly it works is that first the user caretaker can fill the medicine in particular compartment of the devices. They can connect the mobile to device through devices Wi-Fi, and then they will set up the medication schedule through application. And they can add the name of the medicine and the dose. And at the predefined time, there will be LED buzz, LED indication, and the buzz on a particular compartment of the device indicating medicine from which compartment is to be taken. And also there will be name of the medicine in the on the display of the device and the number of dose. So that's how user or patient can double check that okay, whether they are taking the right medicine or not. And also we have utilized electromagnetic sensor to keep track that okay whether user has actually taken medicine or not. So that is actually kind of our USP. And also one more thing that USP about our product is that we will have a data or proper, effective and efficient data of the medication adherence. So that's how patients or caretaker or probably doctors or hospital can keep track that okay whether patient has adhered to their medication or not, how many doses the patient has missed, or at what time the patient has taken that particular dose. So based on that, they can progress further. And this is just the flow of the application, that how application works. So application uses just one time, as we are specifically working for the cardiac and cancer patients. So usually the medication schedule is fixed over the period of time. So they connect the mobile to remote application, they set up medication scheduling. So application UI is very simple, so anyone with a smartphone can connect, download the application, they can connect the device to application, and the UI is we have created UI in such a way. So if you know that how to set up alarm, you can just you can set the medication scheduling just like that. Very simple UI. And there will be also notification on at the time of the medication schedule on the application too. So through application you can also keep track okay whether patient has taken medicine or not at the real time. So but this is for the premium version. So in a premium version, if for users or relative who wants to see that okay whether patient has taken medicine or not on a real time basis, they can also check that through application. And about the medication check and adherence report analysis. So we have used data analysis to provide a proper and effective adherence report to make sure that doctors and caretaker can keep track of that. And how we integrated the Internet of Thing in our solution. So basically, we have added a Wi-Fi connectivity in our device. So we, for the testing purpose, we've used ESP32 Wi-Fi module, and also to get a user adherence report. So we have function in a way that to get the multiple data stream, and then we identify first. Okay, we will have a certain kind of data. Then we analyze that. Okay, how we can create an optimum adherence report that can be analyzed by doctors or hospital or relatives easily. So again, we focus much on data collection, that how much data we can collect from the simple devices. Then if the user misses, as I stated earlier, if the user misses taking medication, it will give a notification to relative or caretaker informing that okay, this patient has misses this certain set of their medication scheduling. And also we are also currently working to add uh, advanced support like smart assistant support like Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri. So our devices can simply connect with the Alexa or Siri or Google Assistant, and they can help to remind the user to take a medicine at a particular time. And also we'll have a data on our cloud networking, so anyone with the credentials can see the real time data or can see the proper adherence report over the period of time. So our user segmentation. So basically, our user segmentation, we are focusing much more on the patients who needs to take medicine on a regular basis. So that includes chronic patients and specifically cardiac and cancer patients age about 45 years that are our primary users that we're gonna work with. And while doing a research with multiple doctors and patients, we found out that major depressive disorder patients also need to take medicine on the right time. So otherwise, this can further causes anxiety to the patients and then can further increases the treatment process time. So that's why we also added in another set of users. So to just give an idea that how we started to identify customer segmentation is that we have personally interviewed more than 40 plus doctors and 60 plus patients in the different states across India, and that's how we come up with that okay, this set of the patients require much more attention, that means the cardiac and cancer patient require such kind of solution to make sure that they take medicine on the right time. And also it will be very good for the patients and doctors to have a proper adherence report. So that's how we come up with the different features over the period of time. And our solution can be used in multiple multi-specialist hospitals and private clinics. So as I stated earlier, that to give a record of the UK, so only in England, medication administration error at hospitals are happening around 8%, and the cost associated with is almost around will reach up to 5.38 billion by 2022. So you can imagine that if in England, the 8% of the medication administration errors are happening in multi-special hospitals. So the rate is quite very much high in hospitals. To just give you an example, that when we started out, I personally went to multiple hospitals to see that okay, what is the current methods that they are using to give medicine to users. And probably you all are aware that even in the finance hospitals, there is only way to keep track of the medication adherence is that nurses the tick on the paper, simple paper. There is no effective way to identify that okay, whether the nurses has given medicine to patient or not, or exactly at what time the nurses has given. And off the record, when I interviewed with some of the hospitals, they actually agreed that they are lagging in terms of providing a proper medication to patients because of nurses are always equipped with certain tasks, and due to certain stress they are unable to give they sometimes they are unable to give medicine at the right time to patient, or sometimes they forget to give medicine to patients. So that's how we also identified that multi-special hospitals and clinics can also be benefited by our product. So that's how we come up with the secondary set of solutions. And our USP, as I stated earlier, so it's an accurate medicine reminder. So because of having an advanced ESP module along with our own customized circuit, there are very less probably yeah, there is any chance that device won't work at the predefined time. It's an economical medicine reminder, which in competitive analysis, our cost is far more less than any competition that are available in India and also in foreign countries. Then patient, we will have data of medicine stock reminder. So we will also have a data of when the medicine of the patients will finish out. So we will inform the patients 2 or 3 days prior to that finishing of the medicine, so they can easily order the medicine online or they can easily arrange the medicines. And also we're gonna provide the emergency or ambulance service facility and application. For firstly, in application, in the future version, we're gonna incorporate this solution in the device. So if the patient is not feeling good, if he is in a severe condition, they can just press a button on the device and instantly we will inform the doctors and relatives that okay, patient is not feeling good, and also instantly we will identify ambulance that okay, this patient might be in emergency condition, so you should attend that. So that's what we're planning to do in the subsequent phases. And about the medication adherence report, so we are currently the only company in India who is providing accurate and very effective medication adherence report. So this is actually very simple, yet this is very helpful for many patients over the period of time. And when we started doing interviews with the patients, so almost 80% of the patients thought that they are not taking medicine on the right time. So when we ask them, okay, what are the key reasons? So usually they come up with the excuses like I got busy, I had some other works to do, and like I was busy in some other works. So that's, and also around 85% of the patients shown the interest in using our solution. So that was our key, you can say the key point that why we started Radisson Medso. So after doing research with the multiple doctors across the different states, and we come up with the solution, and patients, we came up with the solution. And just to give you an idea about the team, so myself is Sujapati, I'm the founder and CEO. Then we have Raj Shah, who's handling business strategies and CMO. Then we have Tomil Parma, who's going to handling much more about the sales portion, and Harsh Mangokia, who's currently handling all the technical work of our device. So one of the great thing, as Ashmita stated earlier, that we got selected for Undisclosed, which is quite a huge achievement for us because we are one among the 13 teams who got selected across the globe who are working specifically on SDG 3, good health and well-being goal. So that was one of the key achievement for us, and we are still hoping that to launch in probably November or December this year, and we're gonna try out clinical trials with one of the finest hospital chains in India here in Ahmedabad in October. So that's how we start, how this current state that we are currently in final product development, and we are currently working with a couple of experts in a clinical research setting, a couple of experts from the hospital management and doctor side. So to make sure that we come up with effective solutions. So yeah, thank you. And if in case if you want any help regarding IoT or entrepreneurship, you can always reach out to me at kush@redis.net.
So that was an awesome session. Now let's go to the questions. So we already have some questions. Let me
Okay.
read that out. In the meanwhile, if anyone has any
Okay.
question, they can always unmute and ask their questions. So the first question is from Yamad Thakur. He asks, can you please repeat the name of the pen that you mentioned?
Okay. It's a OrCam. ORCAM. Oh, sorry. Just a minute. You are asking about the pen, right? So it's DocsPER. DocsPER. DOXPER. So actually, thing is that if you just go through internet and you can just search about the smart IoT based prescription or prescription pen, there are tons of examples, tons of startups are coming up with certain solution. And this is by far the smartest IoT based pen that I've seen. So that's why I've given the example that how the IoT can be enable doctors to work effectively.
So the next question is from Basharat Nawaz. He asks, hello sir, I have one question. Is there any machine that can measure the intensity of pain?
Yes, actually there are quite a few as I mentioned in the IoT like categories of IoT. So nowadays there are many there are actually, but I forgot the name. There is a one machine that neuro machine that are available. So you can just keep the it's simple head kind of structures, and you can just wear the head. You can connect the head to your device, and you can just see that how much pain that you're going through. And actually that this device is currently helping to diagnose mental health patients. So what happened is that sometimes mental health patients were suffering from mental health are not able to express themselves properly. So these kind of devices help doctors to keep to check their brain waves to make sure that they understand the brain activity effectively and to provide a better solution. And now due to AI and machine learning, so processor itself give you the final answer. So as I given you an example of bioscan, so as the patient can, simple device can help caretaker to identify whether there are chances of hemorrhage or not. So there are many solutions available for that.
Okay, so I guess Pashara, that answers your question. Next is from Sangha Radha. He asked, can we connect it with Siri besides Alexa and Google Assistant?
Yes, actually you can. And we are currently working on actually for the initial version, we are currently working on the Alexa only. So what we are trying to do is first, but there are once we're gonna work fully with Alexa, we can simply integrate our code or algorithm with Siri and Google Assistant. So there is no we don't have any technical problem in that scenario. So yes, you can connect our device to that Alexa, Siri, or any Google Assistant. In fact, actually, there are probably 5 or 10 different kind of assistants that are available on the market, but we are just familiar with top three. So we are also trying to incorporate our solution in each and every assistant that been available.
Okay.
Okay, sorry to interrupt here, but I have personally received a few questions. So the first is,
Okay.
over the time, won't these IoT devices replace the need for medical professionals like the Apple Watch, which can measure the ECG as well as blood
Right.
oxygen level and all those things?
Right. So actually, this is a quite great question. I've many times I come up with like people ask this question. So doctors or the healthcare facility won't be replaced by IoT devices. They just gonna facilitate those. So if you have like just give you the example of Apple Watch. So if you have seen the launching of the Apple, you will know that when the during the critical times, the ECG reading directly sent to the doctors. So ultimately, it's a doctor's call and the call of the hospital to check that okay, patient is feeling good or not. And about the oximeter and everything, so oximetry, pulse oxygen identification, say oximeter and everything. So now you can see the due to IoT, many devices are not are available in the consumer market. That doesn't mean that doctors or hospital will their value will be decreased. It is just one kind of facilitator for the doctors and hospitals. But one thing, those doctors and hospitals who's gonna equip with the latest technology gonna be a very much beneficial with all technologies. To as you just asked about the ECG example, so you can imagine that having a Apple smartwatch. So now we can connect with any famous multi-specialty hospital that available in your area during the time of emergency. Your watch will directly send the data to hospitals. So those hospitals who have a very good, we can say the cloud connectivity or the connectivity advance in terms of their cloud networking, so they can access all your data easily.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. So there is one more technical question, I guess. Uh, the in the device which you mentioned, you said it works on Wi-Fi. So instead of Wi-Fi, can it work on mobile data as well if there is no Wi-Fi connection?
Yes, actually, the device will generate a Wi-Fi. So irrespective to your Wi-Fi that's available in phone or available at home or not. So basically, the device will create a hotspot. So you will connect the device to your mobile application. You will just connect the Wi-Fi of the device to mobile, and you can just set the medication alarm. And also, if in the backend, if your mobile data is available, that means your directly data will be transmitted to the cloud. So if in case you want real-time data, that's why you can have a real-time data.
Okay. So there is one more question which is on the similar terms. In rural areas, there are a lot of internet issues, and many of the patients which are receiving healthcare, they are less compliant when it comes to rural areas. So, how can we manage that
Right.
situation? Because majority chunk of the patients are in rural areas with less internet connection and more less compliance.
Right. So actually, we are also gonna work with couple of government agency to make sure that we to try to develop a solution specifically for rural area. So for the rural area, what we are trying to do is that the person from the local like rural healthcare facility will help the patients to set up the medication scheduling, and patient will have to come to like a hospital facility once a week or once a month just to get the medication adherence report. So how it will work is that, so once the caretaker or the staff at the rural hospital set the medication scheduling of the patient on to application. So and also our device is completely rechargeable. So in a one charge, it will last up to 7 to 10 days. So patients can come back to the hospitals, local hospital, after probably 15 days or 1 month, whichever is convenient to them. So hospital staff member can simply connect the mobile application to the device, and instantly will get all the data. And from the data, will also instantly there will be a medication adherence report generated. So that's how they can keep track of the adherence report. And as you said that in a rural area, the connectivity is always an issue. So that's why we have come up with this solution. And just to give you an example that how currently TB patients are, because the adherence rate for TB patient is very, very less, almost around 20-30%. So what is government is currently doing is that government is currently have assigned, currently hired certain people on contract base. So those people goes to the patients out on every 2 or 3 days just to see that okay whether patient has taken medicine or not. But the drawback is that many times patients just don't take medicine, they just take out the medicine from the strip and just throw it out. So there is no way to keep track, okay, to keep track that whether patient has taken medicine or not. So that's how we trying to work with certain government agency to create a collaborative environment in which patients and the local health officer and staff member can have a efficient solution.
Okay, that seems to be a very good approach.
All right.
So there is one question that how are the tech community trying to mitigate the risk of IoT health devices being hacked, especially when it comes to some very sensitive devices like heart implants or pacemakers?
Right. So actually, data security has always been one of the primary concern for each and every hardware or software companies who are specifically working on IoT, AI, or machine learning domain. So just to give you an example, those companies who are working on AI also need to keep to make sure that their data are secure. So also, same goes for the IoT devices. So as there are highly chances that people will hack the data because it's now open source devices, and same goes for the AI and machine learning. You can just go to GitHub, you can download all the coding that's been happen, like integrated in a smartwatch such as Samsung smartwatch or Fitbit. So this is always create a risk for the hacking. But what they have done is that they, over the period of the time, they have started learning from the device itself. Just to give you an example, so earlier when to give an example, home automation. So earlier home automation devices were very easy to hack. So if you just know how to hack any Wi-Fi, you can hack anyone house who is equipped with the smart home automation devices. But now they have come up with advanced technology Zigbee, which is very hard to hack. And also there are always been you can say that anti-hacking team over inside the corporate or the company who's always tried to come up with better and effective code that's very hard to trace, very hard to hack.
Okay. So to adding on to this, I just have a personal question that how can blockchain be effective in
Right.
this? Like,
Right.
is
So
there
actually,
any?
blockchain can be very destructive in terms will be very destructive in terms of IoT if even in future segmentation. To just give you an example, so imagine how easy it will be that if you are being currently you have been treatment your treatment is happening in one hospital. So okay, you have to share the data to other hospitals. So current issue is the interconnectivity and the security that we have just discussed earlier. So blockchain will help to disruptize everything. So there won't be any centralized data. And as we just know that specifically that happens in the all the smartwatches like Fitbit and Samsung Galaxy. So they have is very hackable because of the certain kind of server issues and the centralized server. And so blockchain in IoT, there are very highly chance that it will completely disrupt whole hospital structure. That means you can patient treatment going in one hospital can be treated have data in other hospitals. Also, it will help to have a centralized and a distance way of having EMR. Because as you know that probably our PM just announced in 15th August that we will now in India we will have a kind of medical ID, right? So in a medical ID and other kind of data oriented, specifically EMR. So in a subsequent phase in the future, I'm saying that blockchain will but we will require blockchain just to ensure the security, because there are very highly chance that if you're storing data is in just one server, that it's kind of very easy to hack. If someone with a very good knowledge can easily hack data. So blockchain will definitely will play a very major role in advancement, specifically in healthcare and medical, because in medical healthcare sector will require data privacy much more than much more as of now, because you can imagine that I don't know you are aware about it or not, but Aadhaar card data is currently is linked with each and everything. So that's actually makes it very vulnerable. So if the any hacker just goes into one system, they can easily have data of each and every details that been associated with the Aadhaar card. And just to give an example of how the data privacy can be issued, so Apple's uh, uh, recent iOS version 14, they have worked much more about the data security. So you can just see that just by opening a simple link, anyone can access a medical report very easily. So that's why they have tried to stop that. So that might be the issue in future, but we can just hope for the better security policy. And in India, and one of the lagging point in India is that in India there isn't any data oriented law. So there are cybersecurity like government governance is there, but there isn't any law that governs the data profit effectively. Just to give an example, in US it's very tough. So actually, the thing is that we, while developing a solution, we are also focused much more on US market. So all the data oriented structure is being developed through FDA structures. So while we just studying the Indian devices, it's very it's they are in very vulnerable state. Like they are just sharing and they are just sharing their patients' data just for the profit, which shouldn't be there, which is not happening in US, because in the US the laws are very strict compared to the for the patients' medical reports. So we can just hope that in India we can in subsequent years our governance come out with very strict laws in terms of cyber security. Only that this way we can see that advancement happening in blockchain. And if you just see about the blockchain question, if you just read article that why Indian government banned blockchain, the main reason was that Indian government websites, if you just integrate blockchain, it will indirectly create a very problematic effect on 80 to 90% of Indian websites. And if we just implement the data governance laws that been like implementing currently in FDA in USA, and if we just implement those laws in India, there are highly chances that 80 to 90% of Indian website will be banned. So that's why government is currently trying to improve their ecosystem, and they are just trying to kind of figuring out right now.
Right. There is one more question, one last question in the chat box, that how much data
Right?
would it consume for one day speculation of a patient? For in one day,
Is
how
it
much
like
data will this device consume?
okay, like our own devices are about a general data
Uh,
collection thing?
General data collection,
I,
your own device. I'm not sure.
no, I guess that is
Okay,
about
so
Sangha,
your
rather, I think you
company.
can
Yes.
specify the question more properly.
mm,
Okay, let's
okay, so
assume
if the
for your device.
Say Rana.
yeah, yeah, sir.
Yes, Sangha. Continue.
Uh, let me say that if we have 2 GB of data for speculation of a one patient for one day, how much data does it consume for a day? Or else we can say we have to give 3 dosages, and one for the morning, one
Right,
for the like three
right.
intervals. How much data does it come?
So actually, the device won't consume your any of your mobile data. So basically, it will just facilitate like transmit data from the device to your application. If in case you want medication adherence report, and if you want to have a data on cloud or through web portal, so it will hardly take 500 or probably 1 or 2 MB of the data just to transmit the data per day. So actually, that's why we are currently focused, as I just said, that we also currently focusing on the rural area. So we are very much focused on to make sure that uh, we don't generate like very useless data that consumes lots of net users. So we are probably, if you want a medical adherence report for the for like over the period of 1 month, it will just take hardly 5 or 6 MB just to create, and that's all to create a PDF file only.
So there's, I hope that answers your question, Sangha. So there's another question. So if the mobile switch off, then any other option reminder to go through your device, which is already set on red mode device. Like if your mobile phone
Right.
switches
Okay.
off,
So
then what is the alternative?
right. So actually, device will work irrespective to your mobile switch on or off. So once you set your medication scheduling, you can just disconnect your mobile. If you switch off, like it doesn't matter. The device will, based on the medication scheduling, the device will indicate which medicine is to taken from which compartment and what is the exact dose and the name of medicine. So whether it is connected to the mobile, it won't matter. Yes, but if you want a medication adherence report, then you will have to connect your device to mobile once in a while. Otherwise, after setting your medication order, you can just take away your mobile. The device will run like endlessly in repeating cycles.
Okay, so there's, I
So I
guess,
just
one.
got one more personal.
Uh-huh.
I just got one personal question. Has the link been shared? Post event link. Okay, it's more about the link. So if anyone wants this presentation, they can mail me at the kush@redis. So I will share the presentation.
Okay, so I have just one last question. One of the major criticism of IoT is the lack of privacy. The US government has huge cases against Facebook, Google, and Amazon based on privacy issues with IoT devices. All three were severely guilty. Is there any way we can prevent this while still using IoT tech?
Right. So actually, if you read, I think the person who asked hasn't read the case study properly. So the case is on the software side, and software breaches happen because Facebook used artificial intelligence to spread the post. And if you just read the what are the main reason of the cases is that one of the main reasons is that Russian government has promoted many of the Facebook speeches related to hatreds and against the government. They just promoted those speeches and everything. And in terms of Google, so Google devices, in Google devices, there are many like as you said, the IoT related data security breaches, but that is actually happening because the company wants to being profited by the data. And if we just mentioned that Facebook, and Microsoft too, they're like three big global companies are being summoned by government over there regarding the data breaches. But Apple didn't got summoned by that. One of the key reason is that the other three companies, specifically Facebook, Google, they want your data. They are selling your data for the profit. And I will strongly recommend everyone to watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix. This is basically on this kind of data breach and everything. Because currently, what Facebook and Google is trying is just to sell your data and just to make sure that you are much more addicted to your devices by selling your data to respective things that you like. Just to give an example, that we all face this issue that if we just search one thing in Amazon, suddenly everywhere we'll see the same thing, that it will force you to buy thing out. So what the Google and the Facebook are doing is that they are just collecting your data. They are selling in a way. They're actually working with psychiatrists and experts in psychology to make sure that you stick to the probably device and application. And about the IoT, yes, currently IoT there are data breaches, but in terms of hardware side, there are very few cases that data breaches been happening. And as I just said that we just take an example of Apple Watch. So why there hasn't been any case studies against Apple, because they are much more focused on privacy. While the if we just talk in terms of business plan, so Facebook and Google are much more focused on earning more from your data. So ultimately, what they will do with your data, they will have to sell it to certain agency to get being profited by that. So I hope that you got an answer or not. But if you didn't, kindly watch Social Dilemma on Netflix. You will have a better and much more great insight on that.
Okay, then awesome. So there's a link in the chat box. All the participants are please requested to fill that questionnaire. So that will help you, like that is required to get your certificates. I guess we have one question.
Okay, I think we'll take
As
up
a
last question. Sorry to interrupt.
that's
We'll
the
take up this
last question. Okay.
and then
So the question is, as a student, how do you get the required skills to create something in IoT?
Actually, you just need is to have an idea that what you want to believe. So just to give you a brief, just quick example that in college days, even though I'm from electrical background, we created a cheapest 3D printer, and that's all because I just had an idea that I wanted to create a 3D printer. So what I did, I just go talk with a couple of electronics friends in electronic department and ask them, okay, what kind of devices that I require that will be required to create certain kind of devices. Just I did an example that if you want to create ECG by your own IoT, you can just go to YouTube, just type the DIY IoT based ECG machine. You will get tons of videos regarding that. Go through any videos. They have also added the links to code. So even though if you're not from computer background, you can directly go to GitHub and download the code. You can just implement the code in the circuit and the device will run completely. So basically, all you need is just to know that how you want to start and what is your destination, what is final product. So you can simply create a device. You don't need just basic understanding of the engineering if you're from engineering background.
Okay, then. So I guess we should move towards the conclusion. We are already quite past the closing time. So that was awesome having you, Kush, and that
Thank
was
you.
really a very informative session. And we got a lot to learn about IoT and its applications. So thank you so much, Kush, and thank you so much all our
Thank you.
participants for being with us.